Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to the collective. We have a couple of guests with us today. It's going to be
Yay.
awesome. And we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So here's the question. Does anybody have anything on the top of their heads right off the bat before we dive into any questions that they want to bring to the collective? Any thoughts? Nothing?
Yeah, just a quick thought as an entry
Okay.
point. Thanks for joining us, boys. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Love it.
thanks for the invite.
It's going to be a good day because we got some really cool stuff. And I figured out how to do an
Oh,
interesting...
look at you go. Oh, you're moving it all around.
We got it everywhere now. So,
Winter
this is
Storm
from
427.
yesterday.
I do have
Bring in
some
more
thoughts on
fire.
who that might be, actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to say who it is, who I think it is, because I don't want to spoil the fun.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, I think I know who it is.
Okay. Well, we shall see.
all
I mean,
guessed.
we'll see if they're watching today. 'Cause they've been on three days in a row now. It's been pretty awesome. So this was one of the... We were talking yesterday about accountability, as well as another word that starts with A, and I can't remember. But accountability specifically, and personal accountability. So the question is, have either of you or any of you ever faltered on your accountability trying to gain someone's respect? Any thoughts on that right off the hop? Because that's an interesting question.
I think there's a backstory to that question. I mean, it leaves a lot for us to extrapolate from and try and answer it, but it sounds like Winter Storm might be speaking to something quite specific, which would be helpful. But we can chat about that generally, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's jump on it. What are your thoughts on it right off the bat?
I can't think of any time when it says touching base, respect, accountability. Have you ever faltered on your accountability? I guess it comes to who you're holding yourself accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
And, Shaun and I had a discussion before, and I brought up the thought of, different life decisions that will branch out into different ways and things that come from that. And Shaun says, well, is it branching or is that just your path? Is there basically one course that you're kind of going through? So if you hold your accountability to yourself, and I'm accountable to myself, am I faltering on it if I make one decision over another as I move forward with that accountability? So under that aspect, I can't think of any situation where I have tried to gain someone's respect and faltered on my own accountability. I hold myself accountable to my children. I hold myself accountable to my wife and those near and dear to me. And if that means that I have to change course on a life direction based on something that doesn't hold true to where my accountability sits,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't have those other things in my life, if that makes sense. And I can expand on that, but I'll open it up for other people as well to opine.
Anybody else got a thought on that before we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
I'll opine. That's a great word, by the way, Trav. So I'll opine on it. And my opinion is this, that if someone has any respect for me, it's probably because I'm accountable. They probably respect me for my accountability. So, either you respect me or you don't. I don't work hard at trying to gain anyone's respect. I work hard on myself. And if someone respects me for that, then check. So I don't spend my day trying to impress people. I try to impress myself. And if anyone else is impressed by it, then good. So if anyone respects me, it's because they know I'm accountable to that. And I hold myself highly accountable. Now, to the question on a bit of a deeper level, perhaps, yeah, I've made lots of mistakes in the past, but I hold myself accountable. And I've never, ever, ever thrown away accountability just to get someone to show me respect or like me or clicks or smash that subscribe button or a pat on the back. It's just not who I am. So I don't feel like I've faltered to gain someone's respect. It's the opposite for me. I hope that they'll respect me for just simply being me.
That's a great point. Wade, do you want to chime in on any of that?
Yeah, no, I would say I kind of try to live my life much how Shaun was saying is if I don't respect myself at the end of the day, how do I expect anyone else to respect me? but I don't go out looking for others' respect. It either comes or it doesn't. They either like what I'm doing or they don't, and I will take those opinions as they come. But yeah, I don't chase people's respect, and I definitely won't sacrifice who I am to appease somebody else's opinion of me.
Yeah, I agree completely with what everybody says. I don't really have anything to add on any of that. Trav, did you want to dive in a little bit deeper, or do you want to move?
I do
got
want to
more,
dive
Shaun?
a little bit
All right.
deeper.
What do you got?
So a question to you fellas, and it's this. So when you see someone, I call it selling out or bending over or whatever. I just call it selling out. When you see someone sell out to try to get respect, what do you think?
My first thought is you do you. If you think that's your best path, your best choice for you at the best moment in your life and time and decision, go ahead and make it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not the one in your shoes. So fill your boots if that's what you want to do. But at the end of the day, you look yourself in the mirror. Are you going to like what you see?
I like that. And you know what? That's legit. And that's a better answer than I had in my head. Because here's my answer. Yeah, you do you, pal. But it's detrimental to the team.
Mhm.
And so, you know, if you're let's just call it, if you're selling out to try to get a like or a click, well, you do you. And I'm not going to take offense on that. I'm not going to interact or interrupt or try to change it all around for a person if that's how they run their life, except if I see it negatively impacting a massive team around them. So let's pretend for a moment that I'll use Jocko because everyone knows Jocko. Let's say that Jocko absolutely lost his mind, which could never happen because he's Jocko. But let's pretend he went all sorts of bananas. And now he's saying like crazy things. He's totally sold out, and he's turned into a madman. Well, I'm not just going to say, well, you do you, bro. Like, I'm going to get involved in, hey, listen, you know what? Let's slow it down because that's a disservice to the team now because it's a big platform.
Yeah.
And so Jocko has 1 quintillion or however many people following him, and he's got a massive impact. So if you're a person out there who's got like 3 followers and you're saying wacky do things because you're doing you're not just doing it to yourself, you're doing it to those 3 other people. And so, you know, be careful with your words, be careful how you live your life, and be careful how you are accountable to yourself, because it's not just accountable to you, it's accountable to the team.
Mhm.
So a lot of this has been talking about a team environment and being accountable to the team around you. And if you're going to be a part of a team, you take upon yourself an undertaking that you're going to do certain things. And you should communicate that throughout if things change, whatever it might be. But I think, you know, the nail on the head has already been brought up, which is accountability to yourself. And if we're going to say that somebody's selling out, what are we basing that off? Selling out to us? Selling out to the community or the team that they've created? Or is that part of who they actually are? And we just didn't see that ahead of time. I don't know if, to the person asking the question, seeking any external approval for yourself and trying to be accountable to that, I think if you have a very strong self-accountability level to yourself, everybody will see where you're at, and you're not going to falter from it. And if you do something that looks wackadoodle, but you're still holding that core accountability, maybe there's a reason why.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And so I can use myself as an example, a good, bad example. And that's, I mean, look at me. I'm turned into a social media freak, and it's not what I wanted to do, but that's what I'm doing. And so, in a sense, it could be looked upon as I'm selling out to what I would have been saying 2 years ago. You'll never freaking get me in front of a microphone, pal. I mean, that's what I was telling everyone for years. So, and here I am in front of a microphone, quite the contrary to what I've been saying for many, many years. That could be looked at as selling out. And yet I'm staying true to my core values. I'm doing this because of my core values. So I'm not selling out or whatever. I'm just trying to do it a different way that is more helpful to others, the team around me. So I feel like I'm still staying true to my path. I'm just doing it on a deviated path that I never anticipated or had ever hoped for. And I'm just, flown down that river. But I feel like I'm doing it in a righteous way, just in a way that I never ever expected.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think there's one piece about this that we see regularly that I think we're missing is that fads, things that come into being, and then everybody starts following it. And oh my God, this is really cool and awesome. And then something new and shiny pops up, and they go, but off to that new and shiny thing. Versus what I think you're talking about, Shaun, which is like actually making a course correction and going, you know what, I'm going to go that way, and then you stay on that route. Versus constantly jumping around, and we used to call them spinners. When people start getting stressed, and then they start like, oh, I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and then I got to do these things. And I think those are little, maybe smaller versions of selling out, in that they are, you're not actually staying true to anything. You're just jumping from point to point to point to point in order to gain respect or likes or clicks or whatever it is that people want to get from you. Or whatever you want to get from other people, searching for that the validation from outside rather than inside, and those little jumps back and forth lead to the larger inability to actually follow a path, because you're just constantly jumping from A to B to C to D.
But that's a learned thing. No one was taught the internet.
True.
Or, I mean, we're all learning it as it's evolving.
Mm.
And so I watched the internet jump faster and faster and spin more and more, not only each year, but each month it evolves. And so I was thinking, hey, man, like Wade's right there. And Wade hasn't said much in this conversation, but I actually was thinking of Wade as you were talking, Chance, because Wade put up a post yesterday, which I thought was a great post, your tattoo, and you put some verbiage around that. And that's the kind of internet that I love, is the internet that is thoughtful, deeply contemplative, is legit, and heartfelt, and makes me think about things. And Wade doesn't put out a ton of content. He doesn't write nearly enough, in my opinion. But when he does write, it means something, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hop, skip, and a dance. It's not like 10 things today. It's not like bells and whistles. It's meaningful. And so I feel that every month that goes by, the internet morphs more and more into a thoughtless bells and whistles machine sometimes, especially with the advent of TikTok.
Yep.
And so I'm not a TikTok mentality. So that kind of stuff doesn't interest me at all. And so I find a lot of the modern stuff that's hitting the interwebs right now is TikTok-y. And it's just not deep enough for me. It isn't worth my time. That's just a random thought.
Well, let me ask you this. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the whole thing is it's all about that quick dopamine hit that people are chasing. There's no longer the intrinsic value to actually work for something longevity-wise. It's you got that 30-second video, and that's all your attention span needs to get that dopamine hit, and then you become addicted to it. So that's the reason I don't say much, post much, is I try to get off my phone as much as possible. And when I do think to post something, it usually takes me about an hour and a half to think about something, figure it out, and then finally post. And that's like 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, I'm not a huge social media person. I enjoy watching and getting inspiration for you guys when I get a chance. Like I'll clean the house and throw a podcast on and just leave the phone setting aside, and I'll just listen to you guys chat as I'm doing dishes and whatnot, run around and do whatever I can throughout the day. But yeah, there's a reason I avoid it. Social media, I love it and I hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a double-edged sword, and it can easily cut you quickly if you allow it to grab you. So I just avoid it and try to post as much as I can, and I keep my followership as low as I can. I don't just add anybody. Anybody can follow me, that's fine, but I will only follow specific people for specific reasons. And exactly that, I want that positive feed back into my life of I need something. If I'm having trouble with something, I'm looking around to see who's doing something similar and how do they get past it, or I'm obviously working through with that post the other night is a lot of backwoods, old school trauma of how do I parent versus how was I parented, like taking those pros and cons. So that's what that weight was all about on that
Dude,
one.
it was an awesome post.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Travis, you had a point on.
Well, I had a question. So if we talk about, let's say, TikTok and the quick dopamine hit, and it's growing, it's got organic growth on TikTok, which is phenomenal, and people get on there, they see their quick hit and they're on to the next thing. And if we're to approach that and say, look, that's just not for me, I'd rather have something that's more long form, more meaningful, that's deeper. Would we not want to utilize communication platforms that will allow people to learn about what it is that you're talking about or hoping to share to help get them into perhaps a deeper conversation? When we talk about trends, if there's something that's up in front of people's eyes, if there's a fad that's jumping up and everybody sees a whatever it is, ice bucket challenge or whatever it might be. I remember when that challenge was going around, and I never did it. It looks silly to me, but that's my opinion. Patrick Stewart, I did see him. Jean-Luc Picard, I think, is from Star Trek or whatever. He got his ice bucket out. He got everything together, and then he puts a drink. He puts his ice cubes in his glass. He writes a check. He says, I'm going to contribute to the cause in my way. Yeah. And he sent a message to a lot of people who like that quick dopamine fix of you don't have to be doing this silly stuff. You can still contribute in your own way. Like, is it bad to be able to utilize a trend that's coming up to help further your message and maybe draw more eyes towards something that you find meaningful?
No, it isn't. And I have the case study based on my live chat from today that I dropped just literally before I joined this, because I spent a chunk of my live chat today talking specifically about this. So what I said was, look, if you haven't gone over to the-collective.ca yet and smashed that subscribe button, you should. And here's why. Because every day over the last few days, there's been straight up gold dropped into some of those conversations. And whether it's Chance saying it or a guest saying it, or maybe I've said something that is of value, it doesn't matter who said it. In every single video that's dropped, there's at least a dozen gems. And there's more. And what I was saying in my live chat today, this morning, was this. I suck at video editing. I'm not a video editor. And I'm word for word saying what I said in my live chat today. I don't have video editing on my phone, which is what I shoot my IG live on. On this video that we're shooting right now, I don't have some fancy boy video editing. It's not my background. It's not what I do. I'm not great at it. I don't have the time for it. So what I said straight up is this. If there's anyone listening to this live chat right now, this morning, who is a video editor and can start cherry picking out some of these gems and turning them into 10-second clips or 60-second clips or 90-second clips, put some imagery, put some music, just clip out some of these gems and start putting them out just like Ryan Holiday does. And the reason I started this conversation is because, and I say this in the live chat this morning, last night I was watching some YouTube, doing some research, figuring out who's who in the zoo again. And I saw a thumbnail of Ryan Holiday, and underneath it said Daily Stoic. Great thumbnail, great font, great everything. When you click on that video, which I didn't, because I don't need to, I've seen enough of his content that I know is shtick, which I'm a big fan of. What he's done is he's taken Stoicism, which has been around forever, and it appeals to a lot of guys that I know. And in the live chat today, I said, it appeals to a lot of men. And I can't speak to how many women it appeals to, because I don't talk to a whole lot of women about Stoicism. And not a lot of them hit me in my DMs, but a lot of men do. And they're all nodding their head on Stoicism. And I'm a fan of it. They're a fan of it. They're a fan of Ryan Holiday. I'm a fan of Ryan Holiday. But what he's done is taken information, distilled it down to a crystallized message of either a sentence or a paragraph that is smashing out a home run, contemplative, deep, thoughtful, life impacting idea. And he's done a bunch of them, and they're rad. And so there isn't a person that I know who hasn't heard a Ryan Holiday clip from like Marcus Aurelius or whatever. And so he's been very successful in taking books and turning them into a movement. And yet here we are, a bunch of experienced guys talking about contemplative things. And I can't get my act together to cherry pick out some clips, put some goofy music to it, throw some like seagulls flying by as someone's talking and saying something legit, and like spin it out to the internet so that young men out there, or men who are hitting me up on the regular, who are saying, you guys should do that. Well, we ain't, because I suck at it. And so I said, hey, you know what? If there's anyone listening to this who's a video editor right now, hit me up. I don't have a budget, but I'll figure out a way to make it right for you. But what we need to do is dial up our game. And so the comment came, and Chance, you ain't going to like this. So the comment came from someone, I think it might have been Shane for the Cause, or it might have been Satch. Anyway, someone said, hey, you should think about using UCam, something else, and Canva, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I know. Chance Burles used Canva. He got all excited about it for about 3 hours. Maybe it was 2 days.
It was a couple days.
What I said, it was 2 days. I said 3 hours as a tease, but then I said 2 days. And I actually said straight up in the live chat, it's going to drive him crazy because I'm teasing him right now. But I mean, everyone gets all excited about the new thing. Mm-hmm. And then they last about 2 days. But I need someone who's been in the game for 2 years and is into it, stoked about it more than the honeymoon phase of 2 days, and is crushing it right now. Effective, efficient video editor who can put some of these gems into a stoic moment and start getting this out to people. Not because I want to be famous, not because Chance wants to, not because Wade, not because Trav, not because anyone wants to be famous or notorious or whatever. Let's get the message out in a palatable fashion for other people who don't appreciate long form. So to your point, Trav, I know it's long-winded, but TikTok has its place. And there's a massive demographic that communicates in their mind like that. So I'll use any platform to make us all better. It's just that I'm not good at the TikTok platform.
Yeah. And you know what? You should tease me on it, because it was actually the Mojo app that I was using.
Did.
Not the Canva. But I still play with it. I do play with it. I just haven't really found the right words, the right thing. And I'm still playing with the AI art too, which is actually, Trav, you know, when you put the AI on there,
just find us a video editor. That's what you could find.
I do need to. Okay, I will find us a video editor. I will. But yeah, any other thoughts on the original question, or any thoughts on what we were talking about now? Because I can add. I got a couple more, or we can dive into one of our topics if you guys have a preference. More questions from the interwebs?
Well, it's not that I countered Trav. I just built off of what Trav was saying. So now if there is a question or a comment, I'd appreciate it from Trav, since he just absorbed all of that, and he must have some thoughts on it other than Chance sucks.
No, definitely don't think Chance sucks. I was actually going to wrap this whole thing up. I said, I got to remember to let Chance know what a hell of a good job he's doing putting these things together, how much work it is. So
100%.
I was going to do that as a wrap up, but there you go, Chance. You get that right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Dopamine hit. Click.
Done.
Bing, bing.
No. I'm out. Goodbye.
My only thoughts are, back to the original question about accountability. Find out what you're accountable to. And in the end, we're all accountable to ourselves. When I say I'm accountable to my children, I'm accountable to my wife. If I'm doing something in their presence, I want to be an example to them. If I'm doing something outside of their presence, I want to think, what would they think of me if they saw me doing this right now? And really, that's my own accountability. How do I want to be seen, perceived, and what I want to go forward with? When it comes to fads or jumping from trends or what might be out there, if somebody would look at me and say, oh man, you're selling out, you're only in podcasts and now you're on TikTok or now you're over here, my core accountability level has always remained the same. with my podcast, I want to be able to promote positivity. I want to be able to showcase the guest, bring value to them, and bring value to the audience. If I can bring more value to the audience, more value to the guest by getting it in front of more eyes, by piggybacking on a trend or going on a different platform that'll bring them over to where they're at, to where the podcast is, or whatever the long form format is, then I'm still being accountable to myself. So if someone would look at me and say that I'm selling out, okay, perhaps I'm selling out from their perception of what they feel I am, but I know my core values haven't changed, and I'm always faithful to that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think what I was saying earlier about that's what that accountability is. That's that road that I was saying, right? Like if you make a course deviation, that's if you utilize something on left or right of you in order to make that course deviation, okay, but the course is still true, right? And that's, I think, what that personal accountability is being true to that core design. And same thing with Shaun saying, I didn't really want to be on in front of a microphone, but the principle that got him behind the microphone is the driving factor, not the microphone. So yeah, let's jump into another one here, because we're 26 minutes in. We did the first question, but here's the next one from Daniel Labonte. Daniel Labonte. I don't know how to actually pronounce that, but whatever. Dan, with the question I marked earlier, how important is it to obtain balance, either it be self, family, work? And the question he had marked earlier was, again, it was about accountability, but I really liked just this one question, is how important is it to obtain balance? Because there's going to be times where you got to, lean forward, and there's going to be times where you got to lean back, and there's going to be times where you have to do some things more than others. I think it would be very challenging to maintain complete balance of everything at all times. But any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, it's exactly, you just said there, Chance. You can maintain that push for a limited amount of time, but if you don't find that balance to bring yourself back, or have someone that keeps you grounded to that spot, you're going to burn yourself out. If you have that internal throttle doesn't work and you can't check yourself, and it's like, I'm in all in, and I was bad for that for work, and like I'd throw myself into work and that was it. Everything else was forgotten about. There was no balance, so my family got neglected, things were forgotten. Like you had to find that balance. So yeah, it's very important to find the balance, but it's going to shift. You need that person back and forth that helps level you out.
Yeah. Trav, Shaun, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got some thoughts.
Yeah.
Balance. Very interesting question. Really, balance is the crux of life in itself. Finding that balance and understanding what balance is. I mean, you talk to a Taoist and they're going to talk about how you can't have good without evil. You can't have white without black. Everything is a comparison to something else. If I wanted to be able to describe what black is, it's going to be in comparison to white. Darkness is going to be in comparison to light. So when we start saying, look at my life is out of balance, things are really bad for me right now, I want it to be good, we have to understand that without the bad, we wouldn't have that good. And if we can recognize what we're doing in the moment, or what's happening to us, whatever it might be, if it is something that we feel work is taking up too much of my time, play is taken up, family's taken up too much, whatever it is that a person looks at as their balance inequality, if they can realize that whatever they're viewing as bad is just as equally good, really from the perspective that you're looking at it. Like if we were to look at a farmer who goes out and creates a patch of lettuce and it says, look at all these damn snails. These snails are bad. Well, maybe from the farmer's perspective, definitely from the lettuce perspective, but if we didn't have the snails, the lettuce would overgrow and it would start choking itself out. From the perspective of the snail, it's doing its own good thing. I think we get pretty wrapped up into our own heads and we try very hard to create a mental situation of what we figure is going to be perfect without realizing that the suck that we're encountering or the possible imbalance that's happening now is necessary for us to be able to feel that other side of the balance. I don't know if that's a little off course from where it's at, but I mean, life in itself is all a delicate balance of yes, no decision-making processes throughout. And if we can understand that neither one of them are bad in the same way that neither one are good, or alternatively, they're both bad and they're both good, it might shift our perspective on how we look at how we set up our balance.
That's a great point. Shaun, you want to add on any of that?
For sure. I'd like to take both comments, which were both excellent, and combine them into my answer, and that's this. I think that, to Wade's point, it's tricky. It's tricky to get the right balance, and he's done it wrong, and I've done it wrong. I think everyone's done it wrong in the past, and that's what you got to do. You got to figure it out when you're doing it wrong and when you're doing it right, or when you're doing it really wrong, or when you're kind of doing it right, when you're not even getting close to doing it right, but at least it's better than doing it wrong. I mean, it's a learning process where you got to figure out how to do it right and how to do it wrong. And do we ever figure out perfectly how to do it right? No. But to now Travis's point, I think that the observation of the two extremes of white and black, left and right, up and down, those are good yardsticks to determine on where you sit in that middle ground or not. But you have to observe your mistakes in the past and your wins in the past to get the left and right arcs of how to do it better. And so looking backwards and thinking, when did I feel my balance was amazing? Now you've got a right of arc. When did I think I did it terribly? Well, now you've got a left of arc. But that's for that moment. And using those moments in the past as yardsticks is fraught with danger if you can't just observe them as metrics or arcs that aren't relevant to today because they're from the past, but they're simply tools for you to be able to move forward and maybe do it better. So your yardsticks are past based, but today is how you're adjusting your balance based on today, not on 10 years ago. So you got to make the mistakes. You got to learn from them. Then you got to stand in the moment today and think, how's it going to work best for me today? Not yesterday, not in the future, but now. And that's tricky. And it's tricky if you've never done it before, if you've never tried to real-time balance your day. How it gets easier is you start practicing. You start doing it. Do it today. Do it tomorrow. Do it for the rest of the week. And in a month's time, you'll have a better sense of how to do your real-time balancing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. It's actually, I was just thinking about what we were talking about yesterday in that the little wins that we were talking about where, you have to take your little wins and you have to kind of look for them sometimes. But I think that works in terms of balance as well. In order to balance yourself through the day, you have to mark those periods where you're like, this feels good. This feels balanced. I feel level right now. Or I feel really out of whack. This is not working. And you have to be able to, again, left of arc, right of arc, find your middle ground. Am I on par or online with what you're talking about there, Shaun?
Yeah, and you're 100% on par, but I'd also like to add this since I should have said it myself, but you making that comment just made me realize that I didn't cover it well enough. And that's simply by trying to be aware of the real-time balance. Guess what you're doing now? You're freaking paying attention. You're actually in the game in real time rather than when you wake up tomorrow and think, I wonder how I did yesterday. How about doing it in the real time? I wonder how I'm doing right now, this moment. And am I doing it well right now? And how can I do it real better right now? Now you're in the moment, which is kind of fun, I think.
It's a good spot to be. Any other thoughts on balance or finding those wins?
I just keep coming back to perspective. Like when we talk about those little wins, like you say, that's so important. But a little win for me today, if I talk to 20-year-old me, would be a massive win. But I might not look at it like a massive win today. I just say, oh, that's a little win. If I can constantly adjust my perspective as to what the balance is, I think you'd be a lot happier. And I mean, when people talk, and I know it's been said before, people who seek out happiness, who seek out joy, they want to be a happy person in life in general. The act of seeking out happiness has got a paradoxical effect in so much as you're never going to be happy. But if you can shift your perspective to when things are going poorly or the balance you feel is off, if you can shift that perspective to understand that it's just a part of the human condition, and there's going to be different times that are opposite to that. It might assist people in their whole balance process.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Since you brought it up, I'd like to just add another thing on this subject, and it's this. Yesterday, we talked about winning and losing. And so I'd said, you know what I find to be interesting is mindset. I've always been fascinated by mindset with my athletes, with whoever. Anyone that's going to be listening to this right now, if they hit me up 2 hours from now and I don't know them, I'm not interested in how tall they are. I'm interested in their mindset. And so what I used as a crude and really rough example of how to get your head right, how to get your mindset right, how to check into who you are in the moment is this. It's an old saying. Every Navy SEAL has heard it. Pays to be a winner, baby. Pays to be a winner. And if you don't know what that phrase means, go hit the Googles and then type in Navy SEAL, and then you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. But my point to Chance was this. It does pay to be a winner. Do you want to be a winner or a loser? Straight up. I've asked people that in the past, and they look at me like, why do I have to pick one or the other? Because you got to freaking develop a mindset, man. Like, what? Do you want to be in the middle? Do you want to be nothing? Do you want to be kind of a loser and kind of a winner? What do you want? You get to choose one or the other. That's it. That's all. I'm not going to let you duck out of the conversation and pick, I want to be lukewarm winner. Choose one or the other. And when it comes right down to it, as they squirm and as they make up all the excuses and as they finally get right with it, they say, well, I want to be a winner. Now, here's the problem with society as I see it nowadays. It's become uncool to want to be a winner because it's not humble. It's too extravagant. It's too big. It's too bold. It's too in your face to say, I don't want to be a loser. I want to be a winner. But no one wants to be a freaking loser. I mean, that's why it's a derogatory term, you loser. I mean, no one wants it. No one wants to be called a loser. Am I wrong? That's right. No one wants to be called a loser. Mm-hmm. And everyone wants to be called a winner. Now, very few people will own up to it, honestly, and say, that's right, I do want to be a winner. Because they feel like they're not worthy of being a winner, though they want it. And so in your mind, you got to ask yourself, do I want to be a winner or do I want to be a loser? And then you get to assign what being a loser means to you. And so the example that we'd come up with yesterday, it took a couple of minutes, but it was like, hey, you know what? When you wake up in the morning and you slide your feet out of bed and you put your feet on the floor, and if one foot goes in the 7-Eleven mug and the other foot goes in the Dorito bag, what is even going on? And then day after day, you're not cleaning up your room and your room is just full of garbage. And next thing you know, you're waking up, sliding out of bed, putting both feet into empty Doritos bags. And now you're wearing Dorito bag slippers. Did I not say that yesterday, Chance?
Yeah, 100%. It was.
And so where does it end? Like, so how many days are you going to wear Dorito bag slippers? You loser. And so it doesn't have to be that way. for anyone. The only people that needs to exist for, Dorito bag slippers, is for losers. And they've assigned a loser mindset. They've come to terms with sucking.
Mhm.
You suck if you're wearing Dorito bag slippers, pal. It should have never come to that. And I'm calling you out. And now you get to decide, you want to continue being a loser or do you want to start chasing being a winner? And by trying to be a winner doesn't mean that you look down at your Dorito bag slippers and then look directly ahead and think, I'm going to be a winner today. And now you're an Olympian. It doesn't work like that. But how it does work is you freaking change your mindset in a millisecond and say, I'm done with being a loser. I'm going to chase being a winner. And what I'm going to do today, at a bare minimum, is kick these freaking Dorito bag slippers off and maybe clean up my room a bit. And day after day, week after week, now you got a clean room. Now you're not living with the rats.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you've got some goals and maybe you're executing against them. And maybe you're not on a podium yet in your mind, but you know through your actions, you're pursuing a winning mindset. And so you never have to be an Olympian. You never have to be a world champion macrame knitter if that's the goal that you've set for yourself. But just simply by setting a goal and pursuing it, now that's a winning mindset, not a loser mindset. And I know they're super hard words. They're so offensive. But we all know that no one wants to be a loser.
I'm gonna have to do up some designs for some merch. Keep
Dorito
off
slippers.
Dorito bag slippers.
But I mean,
I like
for
that.
real.
Something like that, or maybe like a little keychain with Dorito bag slippers on them. Something just as a reminder to keep your Dorito bag slippers off.
Yeah.
I could not stop laughing throughout most of yesterday. That was
But I mean, it gets to that point for some people.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it's not that I don't have empathy for the situation. I mean, it's terrible that it comes to that a grown man would be wearing Dorito bag slippers.
Well, that's because the
got
bare
there.
minimum has been allowed as the base level now. People accept that as the bare minimum. That's
100%.
acceptable level.
No one calls it out.
it's-
Everyone's
the
afraid
norm
to
is,
say,
yeah.
you freaking loser. Get your act together.
Oh man, this is awesome. It's so true though. I mean, and the funny thing is that it really all it is, as you said, is a mindset shift, right? If you start looking at things as being okay, then they're okay. I was watching a video on Instagram a little while ago, and they were talking about the biggest damage to this society is the ability to be comfortably numb, and just like you can be okay. Right? You can have an okay relationship. You can have an okay level of fitness, and you can have an okay job, and you can get to a point where your everyday is just, it's okay. It's not horrible, but it's not great. And you can sit in that for a lifetime. And then when you're 80 and you're sitting there going, oh man, what did I do with my life?
You did mediocrity.
And that's exactly it. You did mediocrity. You did nothing really. And that's, if that's the way people want to live their life, then unfortunately you're going to end up as a loser because you're not the winner.
Well, then the pushback is this. Yeah, but I raised a family. I raised a really good family. And that's
Of losers?
Maybe you're right. And
I mean, what example are you setting?
Dude,
Yeah,
that's the first thing that I
What are
thought,
they
but I
doing?
didn't want to go that deep. I didn't want to go that far because I've already just hit the internet with, are you a winner or you're a loser? And I know that there's going to be some people who are irritated by that, but I mean, I'm just saying. So, so you've lived a life of mediocrity, but then your comment back to the other person who says, bro, you lived a mediocre life. They're now going to go with that classic of, but I raised a good family. Okay, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But here's another thing that I'm going to say to you immediately is, cool. How come it has to be mutually exclusive?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to choose either I raise a good family or I live a large life of non-mediocrity? Well, I'm here to say they can act in parallel. My family's I've got a good family and I've crushed it to the best of my ability. And you can do both. It's not like you only have energy for one. We can
think-
all do
No,
that.
and also think of the impact too. I think it was already mentioned by Travis of what kind of family are you raising? What example are you leaving behind? Are you going to leave these people that see your example of mediocrity is okay, so therefore your 3 kids are now going to be mediocre? You've just now tripled your mediocrity in the house. Or do you want to crush something and have them look at that and be like, I like that idea. I'm going to try that.
Right.
They're going to run with it, and you've just built, 3 more that are going to build behind you, and you've just built an empire.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, and a social media empire, by the way, is we're all trying to be better, but also by being better, others can see that, and now they're wanting to be better. I mean, like, it should be a revolution, not a de-evolution.
Yeah. Trav?
I really like the Dorito bag slippers. I'm gonna I like that one. I'm gonna have to use it at some point. I do like that. So when we talk about winners and losers, there's going to be a different bar for different people. And I think a lot of people might get discouraged because not everybody out there is going to be at an Olympic level of running, at an Olympic level of swimming. And so they'll say, well, geez, I want to be a winner, but I guess I'm a loser because I'm not whatever it might be that they're comparing themselves to. And instead of Dorito bag slippers, Earl Nightingale defined a winner or success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Whatever that worthy ideal is to you, if it's the CEO who makes millions and wants to make more millions, if that's your worthy ideal and they're progressively realizing that, then they're winning. If it's the school teacher that loves teaching school and every time they go out there, they're impacting the lives of their students and getting better at their craft, they are a winner. If it's the janitor who's out there mopping floors but does the best damn job out there, and every day they're looking at different techniques, they're progressively realizing that worthy ideal. And there's 2 other points that came up. One was about uncool to be a winner, and the other one was about mindset. And I love the mindset one. One idle thought, I might be on, might be off, I don't know. The idea of it being uncool to be a winner. Like I remember in high school, oh man, you don't try. You don't want to be seen as trying. You want to be the one that kind of gets by you're cool if you don't.
The gray
right?
man, yep.
The gray man. Well, why is that? Is it because people are afraid of standing out from the crowd, of looking different? And I think as the internet evolves and AI and all these new things kind of come in, there's going to be a greater emphasis on individuality as opposed to blending in with the norm, because that's going to be our saleable character. That's going to be the thing that we can make into a commodity, or that separates us from AI, or from, in the same way that, and this isn't my thoughts, this is somebody else who I've been speaking with, the success in life, the blueprint 10,000 years ago was you work on the farm, you put 16 hours a day in, and you provide for your family. Steam engine comes in, and it changed that whole paradigm. And all of a sudden, people looked at education and intelligence as the new thing to be chasing. We'll go to school, we'll get a good job, and our skills are alienable at a rate of how much we know and can provide. AI comes in, and it's going to change that whole thing. And this other individual says it's our individuality or ability to step out from the crowd that's really going to separate us as we move forward. So being uncool to be a winner, I think people have to start embracing the ability to stand out from the crowd and endure the good and the bad that comes with it. The last thought was on the mindset. If you're going to be an Olympic class runner, you're going to have some Olympic class losses along the way as well. And that goes back to balance. So when you're experiencing those losses, realize this is awesome. This is great that I'm feeling so low at this moment, because that just means at some point I'm going to be high, or I have a high that I can compare that to. At one point I was high, and it'll go in cycles. If we look at the Miracle Mile, Roger Bannister, what was it, 4-minute mile? And that was impossible. No one can run a 4-minute mile. But after Roger Bannister runs it with, I forget the other fellow, his name, they got a statue here in Vancouver, the 2 of them are up there. All of a sudden, I think a handful of people ran a mile in under 4 minutes the next year. And the year following, around 100 or so people had run it, because they now see that as possible. They now know that there is the possibility to win at a greater level. So I guess that circles back to the father or mother who says, but I've raised a good family. But what possibilities are you presenting to those around you and to your children Are you progressively realizing that we're the ideal in a way that sets an example that'll make them better?
Yeah.
So a few different topics.
Yeah. The funny thing is actually I was talking about this with someone at we were at jiu-jitsu. We were in the change room. We were talking about this, but one of the things I've noticed in the last little while is the resurgence of the cottage economy. In that it used to be a very cottage economy. You're looking 200 years ago, right? You had craftsmen that would make something very unique in and of itself, and they would sell that. And industrialization allowed for the ability to make things consistently, and you could have replacement parts, and you could have all these things that allowed for the consumer-driven economy that we have right now. But in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, where shipping is basically available anywhere, you can put basically anything in the mail, and you can get it anywhere in the world pretty easily. All those craftsmen are starting to come back. You're starting to see more artisanal woodworking shops and forges and knife workers, and like you're starting to see craftsmen again. And there's been a resurgence of that. And I think because of that individuality, that's going to allow people to stand out against the stuff that you can buy from Amazon, from China, that kind of stuff.
I do have a point.
Give her.
And I'm going to combine several points here from the several comments that have just been dropped over the last 10 minutes into not a more comprehensive comment, but a fuller comment, smashing all of those things together. So I agree, and I agree on these points that yes, AI is coming down the pipeline. And yes, there are characters out there who should be followed. And yes, there are balance issues, and there needs to be some sort of standard that people can observe and think, oh, that dude's doing it better, or oh, that girl's doing it better. I'm going to now try that better and see if it works for me. And yes, there's craftsmen popping up who are making craftsman knives and shipping them to wherever from their home garage workshop. All of these things are happening. But as I look at myself and what I'm trying to do, it's all of those things that have all been mentioned. And let me explain how. So I'm a fan of martial arts history. If I want to learn how to do life better, I pick up a book that was written by a samurai, not by an academic in a dusty library who, doesn't know how to tie his own shoes. Like I look at legit hard chargers who not only swung for the fences, but after they were finished swinging for the fences, they picked up a pen and started writing, or they picked up pottery and started making, or they learned calligraphy, or they learned how to become a more well-rounded human being. So that's kind of what I think of as guiding characters for me when I pick up a book, is the samurais of the world. And so as I look out to the internet right now, there's not a lot of samurai thought out there. There's a lot of TikTok thought out of there. And I see this problem emerging, and it's been emerging for a while, but guaranteed in the next 5 years, it's all going to go sideways. And here's why. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, partly, is to try to counter what I see coming down the pipe in about 5. With the advent of GPT 3.0, GPT 3.5, and now the impending release in the very near future of GPT 4.0, things are going to change. And to Travis's point, in respect to people who are talking about this kind of stuff now, watching Lex Friedman talk with Chamath from previously with Google, and some other characters and people who are in the game, who know what's coming down the pipe, who are concerned. Something that Lex Friedman said in that podcast was this: the characters who are evolving now on the internet, that are starting to become like the next iteration of the internet, is individuals who can't be replicated by GPT 4.0. So what we're going to see in the future is People will be consuming information that is being written by a bot, by GPT 4.0, and you'll never know it. You won't be able to tell if a human or a computer wrote that. That's just fact. You already can't with GPT 3.5. You don't know if a human's talking to you or GPT 3.5 is talking to you because you ain't skilled enough. The best in the industry right now are struggling to keep up with the determination between, is it the robot or is it a human? So if you think you can, you can't. You're kidding yourself. So it's already happened. It's just that it's going to become more nuanced and sophisticated. And at some point, you just ain't going to know what you're consuming. So if you're going to sit back and listen to a GPT created avatar that is GPT created robot talk, well, where's the truth in that? And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now, is create something that is made up of real people that you can look in the virtual eyeball and know that they're real and listen to their words and at least know that it comes from a human being. Now, I don't have much figured out and I don't have that much experience and I'm not that wise, but I'm freaking more wise than a robot. And so 5 years from now, when TikTok is smashing out GPT 4.0 and some kid is in his basement looking for some stoicism guidance, I'd rather he listen to me than robot. So I think we've got a responsibility to not only have these kind of open conversations where we're trying to learn from each other, but right now I'm trying to set a platform that is hopefully in the future going to counter the program, the guerrilla warfare that we're about to face as GPT 4.0 seeps into our society.
Yeah.
Be the red pill to the blue pill, eh?
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be interesting in the next little while. We're evolving faster than I don't know if we can keep pace with it. So it's going to be an interesting day. So we got 3 odd minutes left here. I had another couple questions here, but they might just have to wait for tomorrow.
Tomorrow will always show up.
You should have a speed round
here. Oh, a speed round.
Oh, that's a good idea.
What if my bank
But not
ever
today.
hit?
Not today.
Not today. No.
But we should do a speed round. That would be good.
Okay. We're gonna let the bank fill up a little bit, and once we have a certain amount, once I figure out that we have a certain amount banked up and we can hit a speed round, we'll definitely do that. But yeah, it's good. It's good. These are some good questions. So I'm going to give you a little highlight as to what we
Oh, don't ruin it.
No,
Don't even.
Okay.
No.
Okay. No highlights.
No.
Okay. I'll leave it alone for now.
Just because you're excited about, what was it, Canva today? Just because you're excited about the questions today?
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm excited every day. This is what it's all about. I've been enjoying every single one of these. It's so much fun. But yeah, unless I don't really have anything else, anybody got any final points before we shut her down for the day?
I'll take one quick one. It was just to touch on the good evil baseline of winner or loser. The only thing that I ever try to compete with is the person I was yesterday. If I'm better than that guy, then I'm a winner. If I'm still wearing my Dorito slippers tomorrow, I'm still a loser. So,
yep,
love it.
Trav, you got any final points?
Love it.
All contextual.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, I'm gonna make some. I'm gonna make some. My wife's got access to a 3D printer at work, and I'm gonna make like a little keychain of Dorito bag slippers, and we're gonna see if I can pump those out. We'll put it on the merch page.
I mean, it's so crazy, right? But I mean, it's not such a stretch.
It's not.
There's probably some dude out there right now slipping his feet into those chip bags.
Those Dorito bags.
I mean, it's crazy, right? But it's probably happening.
You know what I'm picturing is like flip-flops made from
100%.
Dorito bags.
Okay, well, when I was a kid, you had like the Wonder Bread in the winter, right? You put your bread in a bread bag in the boot.
Oh, yeah. That was old school. Yeah.
That's old school.
Do what you got to do.
That was old school Gore-Tex for me, man.
Ooh, yeah.
When I was like 14 out in the
that.
winter in Grand Cache hunting squirrels with bread bags on my socks.
Been there.
Yeah.
Garbage bag pants. Have you done garbage bag pants? So
Oh,
I've
dude,
done
I've done it
garbage.
all.
A shirt, a garbage bag shirt. Yeah.
okay,
Garbage bag
duct
shirts
tape
always
and garbage
good.
bag pants.
It's
yeah.
called
The
military issue.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that army issue poncho was not great. I gotta
Hey, actually,
say.
I like the poncho.
Really.
No kidding. The old
Mm.
poncho, it's actually a good piece of gear, and here's why.
The poncho is good.
It is because, like, it doesn't. First of all, the poncho is underappreciated. If like you were in, I don't know, wherever, Manitoba or something where it doesn't rain, but like if you're out on the left coast and it's cracking down rain all the time, it's not the awesome when you're patrolling in constant rain.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, day after day. So you throw a poncho on. Now, maybe it's not all silent. It does make you look a little bit like John J. Rambo, but it's not all silent. But man, you can move really well. And it's pretty effective camouflage if you hit it with a bit of spray paint. And it keeps you dry enough that the world isn't completely demoralizing, and the way you move, you can actually blow off a lot of moisture and kind of get warmer and drier as you move underneath that poncho. I kind of like the poncho. It's a good piece of kit.
I can
Yeah.
smell it right now just talking about it. That
Oh, yeah,
familiar
for sure.
smell.
Oh, yeah.
I was just sorry. You know what? I wasn't thinking of the poncho. I was thinking about the rain
The
jacket.
garbage bag rain gear.
The
Oh,
garbage
yeah, yeah.
bag rain
Man.
gear.
You either sweat in it getting wet, or
Oh,
you let the
man.
rain hit you. And get
Do you know
wet.
what I would
There's
like to see
no
happen?
happiness.
I would like to see the guy or the girl who was responsible for buying that have to wear it in their full-time job as they're at their computer tapping away, smiling about what an awesome purchase they made. Yeah, okay, pal. How about you wear that for a week
Just
at your
sweating,
desk?
sweating through everything.
Now that you
Pour it
realize
off.
how uncomfortable it is,
Yeah.
now start burping for the
Yeah.
rest of the day, because that's how I feel.
Yeah, those were pretty bad. And you know what the funny thing was, when I was on my 3s course, actually, they put the Gore-Tex ones into service,
Oh, you guys got Gore-Tex ones?
but only to the Air Force. And we didn't actually see those new Gore-Tex jackets until probably mid 07.
Oh, jackets, okay.
But well, they're like the new rain gear. They're
Yeah,
Cat Pat, and it's a nice jacket. I still have mine. I mean, I don't have mine. I mean, I lost it. Definitely I lost it. But they were actually
As
pretty
you
nice
should.
jacket, but they're not. I think it's same idea, is that there's too many people sitting in Ottawa going, you know what, this looks cool. Check.
Dude, I could go. It's literally 5 seconds away from where I'm standing. It's hanging in the hallway closet. And I took a photo of it, I don't know, about nearly a year ago. I was out for a ride and it was going to rain. And I just thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun to wear my old high-speed low drag black JTF2 Gore-Tex jacket, which was a piece of garbage, because the supply system was a piece of garbage. And so they didn't know what or how or when to buy anything good ever at that moment. And so I've got this piece of garbage hanging in the hallway closet, which, by the way, at the time was like freaking James Bond sexy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just thought it was the Gucciest of Gooch, and it wasn't. It was garbage, but that's the way it was back in the day. It was freaking James Bond style, because the delta, or the yardstick that it was being measured against, was literally the worst of the worst, designed by some fool who'd never worn it. It, like, embarrassing.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. The
One thing I always remembered, in the middle of a gunfight, always remember that your weapon was built by the lowest bidder.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it goes
it's
with
classic.
everything on you. But
Yeah, I posted a little video on Instagram the other day of a guy unloading his M249, the saw just dumping rounds downrange, and I was like, "Ooh, I miss my C9. I don't miss cleaning it, but I definitely miss shooting it." it was lots of fun, and there's lots of things that lots of things don't get right, but it's the soldiers that make it work, and we make it work well.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
And that's the case in life. I mean, no one gets handed 5 aces in a poker game. You get what you get. and you play your hand the best way that you can. And hopefully you get some chips out of it in that play. And if you don't, then you wait for the next hand and you play your best hand and you keep on chipping away.
That is the way.
Nice.
I like it. That's a great spot to, I think, ender for the day. Really appreciate y'all being on here. This has been a fantastic conversation. We made it through some interesting questions and got a lot of really good insight, I think, on a wide variety of topics. So thank you guys, Wade, Travis. Really appreciate you being on here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Awesome.
boys.
Thank you.
And to the people watching, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting. Awesome. I got some questions from the bank here, or questions to add to the bank. So we're good
He's
to go
all
on
giddy
that
about that.
It's
He's all canvad.
Wait, now you got to speed round your questions.
And speed round. That'll be coming soon. Don't worry. But hey, if the people watching want to shoot me some questions, absolutely shoot them to me on the Instagram, on here in the comments, whatever. You shoot me questions, I will get them up here and I will present them to the world.
One thing that I do like about these questions that we're getting, and of course the guests that are showing up to interact on these things, is I was going to say I don't care what the question is, but that sounds rude, and it's incorrect. The question line is unimportant to me. The fact that there's a question is important, because once a question's asked, I know the conversation is going to start building, and I don't care which direction it goes. I just like having a good chat with good people that make me think. And that's a different format than the question answer. I just like watching it move around the campfire and see the thoughts that build in my head and whatever I've got to say, the thoughts that build in other people's head. After we're done this, we hit end. I'll be thinking about things later today that will make me a better person, which will grow in time. Those thoughts. And so the questions, they're amazing, but just the fact that there's questions to start the conversation rolling around the campfire, that's what's important to me.
Could not agree
100%.
more. And we're a little bit over an hour here, so we'll shut her down. So on behalf of Travis and Wade and Shaun and
Thanks,
myself, Big Bird,
Thank you.
this is The Collective. We'll see you tomorrow. And